Luke, what are we starting with this week?
I'm
not going to let you answer that. Jamp, what are we starting with this week?
A wee email.
That's right.
No, it's a wee review.
No, it's not. Oh my God. You
How
got
did
it
I
wrong.
get that one? This is why Luke does it.
This is why Luke does
Yeah.
it. So, oh my Lord. This one says, just lovely, and it's 5 stars. It says, found this not too long ago, and I've been eagerly trying to catch up. I love laughing at your guys' banter, and I can't shut up about all the new things I've learned. My partner is quickly becoming annoyed. Thank you. From Alison.
Are we annoying?
No. Partner's annoyed with all the facts that Alison is giving to them.
Not us.
Not us.
As long as
no.
we're not annoying.
We're not annoying necessarily.
Directly.
This review is not saying we're annoying, but we may be annoying. We just don't know.
Could be.
Let's test it
Who knows?
with this new episode.
Share
Let's
us with your partners. Are we annoying?
So, shall we start the show?
Yes.
Hello and welcome to the SCI Guys, the show where we talk about the crazy, weird, and wonderful stories from the science world. I'm Corey, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jamp and Luke Cutford.
Hello there.
Hi.
This week, we're talking about the age-old story of stealing credit from women.
What?
Oh, not again. Not one of these stories.
One of these times when we stole credit
Ah.
from... Yeah, that's another one.
These are always depressing.
But don't worry, this one is slightly different because it's a black woman this time. So it's absolutely horrible. So, I mean, this story actually starts off quite well until it doesn't. So this is the story of Alice Ball, who was a very good chemist who came up with a very good, I was going to say cure, but it's a very good treatment. So, shall we dive on into Alice Ball?
Jump right in.
Yeah, we're going
I
balls
want to
deep
find
on
out
this
who
one.
Alice is.
So Alice Augusta Ball was an African-American chemist.
When?
I mean, what do you mean when?
When was she a chemist?
When
Is she
was
still
she
a
a
chemist? Is she still alive?
I mean, she's still a chemist. She's not still alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hang on.
No,
She's definitely not still a chemist if she's still alive.
she could still be. I mean, she's not a chemist.
We will always be SCI Guys, even in death.
Yeah,
So
I don't think dying.
I think she can
stops you-
retain the title of chemist.
Yeah, I don't think dying stops you from being something.
I think it does.
Alive, maybe.
Footballers aren't still footballers when they're dead.
Well, yeah, that's because they're not actively participating in football, and often people don't do
I
football
don't
until
think
they
she's
die.
actively participating in chemistry.
Oh, she
Yeah.
is. She's decomposing.
I think she. Well, I guess you're right.
So we're all chemists.
In death, we are.
No, so Alice Augusta Ball, as I said, was an African American chemist. She was born on July 24th in 1892 in Seattle, Washington.
Ah,
So her mother was a photographer, and her father was a lawyer. Yeah, so they were middle class, which it was quite surprising because they're black in the late
the
1800s.
1890s.
odd,
Yeah.
even for the 1800s, especially.
Yeah, like
I imagine.
slavery had only just ended, hadn't it?
That century.
Yeah, that century.
Wow.
Not too long ago. God. So in 1903, they moved from Seattle to Honolulu in Hawaii because James Ball Sr., who is her granddad, was quite ill. He had arthritis.
I went to school with a boy called James Ball. That was very exciting. When you said James Ball, I was like, I know James Ball.
Not that one. I don't think it's the same one.
Yeah, he was white.
Reincarnated.
Yeah. Well, he was probably, not an old man or, not dead when he went to school.
That's why I said reincarnated. Could have been.
I don't think you reincarnated into people with the exact same name.
You don't know.
I don't
You don't know.
think that's
That'd be the one thing that connects you throughout all of your lives. Just your name.
just the exact same name. You'd probably be your own descendant at some point then.
Yeah.
Weird.
True. More likely. Yeah.
Yeah, you're your own grandfather. Anyway, back to reality. James Ball, they went to Hawaii for...
I don't think I can get through this with you saying James Ball.
Well, don't worry, because he dies.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was really evil.
Yeah.
He died not long after that, and they moved back to Seattle. So Alice was really good at school. She was particularly good at chemistry, supposedly. So she graduated in 1910 from Seattle High School, and then got multiple graduate degrees from the University of Washington and then the College of Hawaii. And actually, after she got her undergraduate degrees in pharmaceutical chemistry in 1912 and pharmacy in 1914, both of those from the University of Washington, she transferred to the College of Hawaii, which is now the University of Hawaii. And she was the very first African American and also the very first woman to graduate with a master's degree in chemistry in
Wow.
1915. From that college, university. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and actually, after that, she was offered a teaching position at that college. And she was the first woman to teach chemistry there, and also the first black person to teach chemistry there.
Oh,
she
wow.
Was,
Two in
What
one.
year was that in?
that was in 1915 that she graduated.
Is that especially progressive for the time or not?
I mean,
I'd assume so, but I don't
mean,
know, to be fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, look, when Kennedy was killed in 63, 63? No, yes, the same day as Doctor Who. November 23rd, 63. When Kennedy was killed in 63, the civil rights movement was still going on.
Right. This is a really...
wow.
And so this is
Yeah.
a good, few years
Yeah.
before that. So
Good
she didn't have many
half
rights.
century before that.
Yeah, I don't know how. I guess maybe Hawaii was more
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly possible that Hawaii was a bit more progressive
given
than
that there are.
mainland America.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because it was more recently colonized at that point. Then I suppose. So
Yes, and it became a 50th state, and now they're in a battle of trying to get it to be its own place again.
Good.
Yeah.
Get
Take
rid
it
of
back.
yeah, get rid of
Oh, my
America.
goodness.
Mm.
You want to jump off that sinking ship? I don't think anyone does. But yeah, back to Ball. So she was teaching there. She was 23 years old. So not only is it amazing that she was the first black person and the first woman
First black person.
ever in the
Wow.
world. No, the first black person to start to teach chemistry there, and the first woman to teach chemistry there.
Yeah.
She was only 23, so she was super young as well.
Super
Incredible.
young.
Yeah, which is
Wow.
but 23 years old. She had 2 undergrad. She had 2 bachelors and a master's. That's
Wait, a 20?
What have I
She
done
made
with
quick
my
work
life?
of that. Wow.
I've got a podcast. And I share that.
22. I'm nowhere near that. Yeah.
But yeah, so what she's quite famous for, I say what she's famous for, you probably haven't heard of her. What she should be famous for is the first successful treatment of leprosy. Do you guys know what leprosy is?
We've talked about it before.
Have we talked about
briefly.
leprosy?
Well, I don't think we've done an episode, but we've mentioned it.
Oh, we've mentioned it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that thing that that's in the Bible a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus.
That's where we first found out about it.
Highly
Yeah.
contagious. They used to send people to an island to have leprosy together. Leper
Hawaii
Island.
I think islands of Hawaii used to have leper colonies.
Really?
That might be from The
Really?
Simpsons, so I don't know how true that is.
Well,
So-
The Simpsons often predicts the
Somewhat.
future.
The
so-
thing is, sometimes there are things in my memory banks that I'm like, I pull it out and I'm like,
Is that true? Or did
I
the
remember
Simpsons
this.
say it?
because I don't forget things very easily. So if someone says something, it'll stick in there, and it's very hard to source some information if it's just been pulled out of my databanks.
Is that the episode where
It's
they
called
think Homer has leprosy?
No. It's the episode where Marge goes away for a bit, and Lisa basically Marge goes to Rancho Relaxo, and Lisa basically becomes the Marge and is looking after the house. But Bart and Homer are just awful. So Lisa makes them think that they've got leprosy by covering them in green oatmeal.
That's it.
To
Oh
make
my
them realize
goodness.
how disgusting that their living conditions have become.
But then they just want to stay on the island because it's so lovely.
Yeah, it's really lovely. They realize that, she goes there and they realize they don't have leprosy.
Yeah. It's a great story.
Simpsons concepts are
fun.
weird.
If you really enjoyed that story, check out The Simpsons. A little known show by a guy called Matt Groening.
Find
Groening,
more
it doesn't
about
really
leprosy
matter.
over at The Simpsons.
No, okay, so leprosy. It's not just in The Simpsons, it's actually in real life. And look, you said it was highly contagious, but actually, that's not necessarily the case. So it's an infectious disease. It's caused by Mycobacterium leprae, which is very easy to remember. So it multiplies slowly, and the incubation period is about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you guys know what an incubation period is?
How long it takes for you to show
Yeah.
symptoms
Yeah,
It's
after
like
infection?
when you first get it, but it's not really active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it primarily affects your skin and your nerves, or your sort of peripheral nerves, and your like mucous membranes, which are like the bits where mucus, the membranes where mucus are. So do you know the inside of your nostrils? That would kind of be a mucous membrane. So the mucous membranes of like your upper respiratory tract. So like here up, basically, in your breathing bits.
Yeah.
And also the eyes. Right now, it's curable. Obviously, it wasn't
Good.
before. Like it was in the, as you said, it was in the Bible a lot. It's a very, very old disease, and yeah, it's been kicking for a while. And only in the sort of 1900s did we find something close to a solid treatment for it. Yeah, but as I said, now we can just treat it with antibiotics, basically. So it's transmitted. I think I've heard from different sources. Some sources have said it's transmitted via droplets, and other sources have said we don't know how it's transmitted, but we think it's transmitted via droplets. So someone is not telling the truth. Best guess is it's transmitted much like
Droplets, but maybe not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
much like the current world destroying virus. It's transmitted by droplets. So that's from the nose and the mouth during close and frequent contact with people that aren't being treated for leprosy. They also have to have leprosy, by the way. You can't just be. It's not just people that aren't being treated. People with leprosy that aren't being treated for leprosy. I don't want someone to misunderstand. So yeah, if you're kind of close enough to someone for them to be like spitting out into the air, then you're around them for a long time, you might get leprosy. So if you don't get treated for leprosy, it can have really bad effects. It can damage your skin, your nerves, all the bits that I mentioned before, your limbs, eyes. But there's not many cases of leprosy. Relatively. There are about 208,619 new leprosy cases registered globally in 2018. So that's not too many.
208,000.
More than I was imagining, actually.
200,000
As in
across the
still
world.
not
fifth of a
many,
million.
Yeah, but compared to the billions of people in the world,
Yeah.
it's not that many. So that's from 159 countries in the 6 regions where the World Health Organization operates. So about 150 people in the US get it every year, and about 600 people a day are diagnosed around the world, and about 50 of those people are kids. So that adds up to about 250,000 a year on average.
It's more than what's comfortable.
I mean, I think any leprosy is uncomfortable, to be honest.
Yeah.
But again, it is treatable. That's the thing. So just because you've got it doesn't mean that it's gonna ruin your life. Like you can live a full life and get treated for it, and I think be cured from it as well. Like I said, it was a really old disease though. So throughout history, obviously, if there wasn't a treatment, and it was quite infectious then, whereas now it doesn't seem to be necessarily as infectious.
What sort of symptoms does it cause?
I'll get into the symptoms
Because it's been so socially stigmatized across history.
I mean, I think the reason it was stigmatized is because it can basically kill you, and it can be quite obvious when someone's got it. And if you're having close contact with people all the time, then it is fairly infectious. You know, if you're not quarantining someone, then it's infectious. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, people were being ostracized for it. They were sent to islands. But because when it's left untreated, your hands, feet, they can be paralyzed. You can go blind. A lot of bad things can happen. So yeah, that's why people were probably ostracized, because you don't want to lose the function of your hands and feet and go blind when you're working in the Middle Ages.
If avoidable, it would be preferable. Yeah.
And as I said, it's not necessarily very transmissible. Whatever, either one. You've got to be having close contact, like I said, with someone that isn't being treated for a lot of months, apparently, for like a long time to catch the disease.
Oh.
But then obviously throughout history,
Right.
our living situations have changed.
So
there used to be cases where a lot of like families would sleep in one room. And in that case, if a member of your family got it, then you would get it.
the family,
You would work in close proximity with other people. So if that happened, then you would get it. Our world has changed so that it's not necessarily as infectious in countries like the UK, because we just don't have that kind of contact with people anymore. Oh, that's very sad.
Everyone's boxed off into their own rooms.
You can't catch leprosy through a phone. Yeah, you can't get it from like handshakes, hugs, sitting next to people, or like eating with people.
Eating people?
No, eating with people.
Yeah, it's even cannibalism.
Don't eat people with
Our
leprosy.
society has changed somewhat in the intervening years. We don't eat people anymore.
Not quite as much as we used to. Oh, it's also called Hansen's disease, by the way. So you might have heard of it under that name. It's also not passed from parent to child during birth or pregnancy, and it can't be spread through sexual contact. So,
But it can be through kissing.
for many months.
Prolonged kissing.
Hey, man.
month long.
When
That's
I
a long
kiss, I
makeup
kiss for many
session.
months.
I'm a passionate lover.
I remember the last time you kissed. I just didn't see you for
Yeah.
almost a year.
Yeah.
Horrible thing. Dear Lord.
I latch on.
You're like a limpet. Like a barnacle stuck in the side of the ship. Trying to prise him off. You get a crowbar. Yeah, so in the southern United States, some armadillos naturally are infected with...
This is like turtles with syphilis.
Yeah, or koalas with...
Or no, herpes, sorry, maybe.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not, but koalas can also have... what's the word? Gonorrhea, is it?
I thought it was syphilis.
Oh no, it's the
Chlamydia.
clap.
Chlamydia. That's it.
Chlamydia.
That's it.
Yeah. Koalas and chlamydia, armadillos and leprosy, and the one that Luke said.
Turtles and something.
Good.
I don't know. I swam with turtles once and they were like, don't touch them, you'll get herpes.
Oh. That's it. Maybe it's just
Maybe it was
those
just those
turtles. Just those specific turtles, yeah.
Look, we messed around with them.
Oh,
They're full.
no. Horrible.
They're bad, naughty turtles.
You've been a very naughty turtle.
Which is weird because turtles are like always wearing protection. Anyway.
They're always at home.
So the CDC says to avoid contact with armadillos whenever possible. For health reasons, man.
Such a weird. They're nasty.
No,
Stay
they can
away
give you
from them.
leprosy.
They're a bad influence.
they'll give weed to your kids.
I'm really upset that I found this out because armadillos are quite cute.
Yeah.
I like an armadillo,
But
but
it turns out they all have asbos.
Dear.
leprosy, Luke.
Sorry.
Leprosy.
Sorry. I often get those two mixed up.
Very similar.
The police can hand out leprosy to people? Crazy.
Over many months, yes. In theory, yeah.
Defund.
That's what's put you over the edge. But the risk of getting leprosy for adults around the world is quite low because about 95% of people have a natural immunity to the disease.
Ah, good.
Yeah, it's very good, isn't it?
Inherited or absorbed? As in, have we been exposed to something that's a good analog
I
for
know it-
leprosy at some point, or are we genetically immune to it now?
I've
I know what you
absorbed
meant, but I very much
immunity.
feel like you started that sentence with inherited and couldn't.
yeah, absorbed.
I'm not sure. I mean, gosh, could be either one. But in all likelihood, it's probably just a natural immunity. So it's one
Interesting.
you probably won't find much contact with
Over
leprosy.
many centuries of getting the disease.
Finally, our bodies are
finally like, oh, okay,
Okay.
we'll help you out.
or maybe the thing is, it's potentially possible that immunity could have been there from the start. Or that we're good at fighting it. It does take it's slow growing and it takes a long time. So your immune system has plenty of time to attack it or find a way to defend against it if it can. Like as I said, the incubation period can be up to 5 years. You might not even show symptoms. You might not show symptoms for between 2 to 10 years. So, you've got a long time to try and get around it. But yeah, you're only really at risk if you're in a country that's reported basically more than 1,000 new cases between 2011 and 2015, and those countries are from Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Madagascar, Mozambique, Nigeria, and United Republic of Tanzania. That's right. In Asia, Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, Myanmar, should have read these out beforehand, Nepal, Philippines, and Sri Lanka. And in South America,
It's quite a few places then.
yeah, and in South America, that's Brazil. So, I mean, it's not that many. There's a lot of countries in the world. It's not that many.
Yeah.
And those are the only ones that have reported more than 1,000 new cases between 2011 and 2015. So that's not too bad. I mean, that means that every other country has had fewer than that. Number
Is
of cases.
there some preventative things you can do to not get it? My dad goes to Tanzania a lot, so I don't want leprosy.
Oh, you'd be fine. You'd just take antibiotics.
Okay.
Unless he's there for many, many months.
Yeah, unless he's
He
there for-
usually is there for many, many months.
Oh,
at a time.
really?
Yeah.
Well, Okay, well, in 5 years' time, check him out.
Take
see
some
if he's-
antibiotics.
Check him out. You looking fine, Dad.
well, apart from the leprosy, you know, but other than that, hot boy. No, but that's the thing. So you've got the symptoms. If you want to spot your dad having leprosy, look, this is what you should look out for.
Thank you. I'll write some notes.
Yeah, write these down.
I'll pass it on.
No, you should not pass it
no,
on. No.
Well done.
That's the last thing you want to do. So discolored patches of skin that might be numb and faded, nodules on your skin, thick skin, painless ulcers on the soles of your feet, and painless swelling or lumps on the face or earlobes, loss of your eyebrows or eyelashes. And then there's some symptoms caused by the nerve damage. So that's numbness in the affected areas of skin, muscle weakness or paralysis, enlarged nerves, eye problems that might lead to blindness. And that's when the facial nerves are affected. And then if it's in the mucous membranes, you have a stuffy nose, nosebleeds, and you can have other like sort of losses of sensation there. And if you lose sensation, you might not be able to feel pain. So you need to be very careful with the parts of your body that don't feel pain because while we think that pain is bad, pain is basically the sensation of, hey, thing is going wrong. You should pay attention to this thing. Please do it now, or you're going to die.
You.
Yeah,
Get out of there.
and if you can't feel pain, you're probably gonna. You could like people. There are people that can't feel pain at all.
Yeah.
Some of them, and they need to pay attention to not chew up their mouth.
And they put their hand on stoves and stuff.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
they?
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't
How?
have that if you don't have that reflex to pull your hand away, you'll just sit there and let
Just
your skin boil
Keep it there.
until you
Ow.
probably smell the
The skin.
Lord, I do not want to
Oh,
think about
dear.
that. But yeah, if it's not treated, you can have, as I've said, I think already, paralysis of the hands and feet. Your fingers and toes can shorten due to reabsorption. You can have non-healing ulcers on the bottoms of your feet. You could go blind, lose your eyebrows. Don't know why that's the second to last one. That feels like it should be at the top.
Pretty important, yeah.
Yeah, no, loss of eyebrows. I feel like it shouldn't go from blindness to loss of eyebrows. That seems like like losing the sense of sight, and you might have to get some eyebrows drawn.
Hermione Granger. We might get expelled. We might die, or worse, lose our eyebrows. She needs to sort out her priorities.
Exactly.
How could you check for loss of eyebrows if you're blind, though? You'd be like, I
You
can't
feel
check
them.
for this symptom because I'm blind.
Yeah, you
now.
can feel,
You feel them.
Oh, you can do that. Unless you can't feel anything.
Oh, because you could have nerve damage.
Could have
Oh,
nerve damage, yeah.
I think if
I
you've already
assume
gone,
someone else would probably do it for you.
yeah,
Yes.
you've already gone blind. You probably don't need to check for whether you've lost your eyebrows.
That's
you got,
probably
you got some
yeah.
problems. You got
Yeah,
you
you
got
might
some
wanna get that
symptoms.
You got
checked
bigger
out.
fish to fry in that
Yeah.
case. Yeah. So you can also have nose disfigurement, painful nerves, redness and pain, all the standard sort of stuff, like redness and things like that. And you can also feel like your skin is burning. As I've said now, it's treated by antibiotics. So 2 or 3 antibiotics are used at the same time, and they're used for quite a fairly long period of time. 1 to 2 years is the treatment period, and it can be cured if the right treatment is prescribed. So that's good.
Very good.
But let's jump back in time
Ooh.
to when there was no cure.
Oh.
Yes, remember Alice?
Alice
Ball?
is where she comes into play.
Yes, this is where she comes into
Yeah.
play. So she was a lab researcher, as I said. She was working to find a treatment for leprosy, and she created the first injectable leprosy treatment using oil from the. I saw this word and it was long, and I
Oh,
thought
dear.
I'll read it on the night. I just looked at it and I'm like, I'm not going to try and read it out in my head. I'll wing it. Chalmugra. The Chalmugra tree.
I'd say that sounds, yeah.
CHAULMOOGRA. Chalmugra.
Yeah.
The Chalmugra tree, which up until then, it was used just basically as a sort of topical agent. You guys know what that means? It's like when you put
the
it
skin.
on. Yeah, you put it on the skin wherever the thing is. So it was used in sort of Chinese and Indian medicine. The thing is that it was decent at what it did, but it being on the top of the skin meant that it wasn't great because it would have to be absorbed through the skin or get in through any lesion. You'd think you could take it orally, you could just eat it, but
yes.
it tasted very bad
Oh.
to the point where you would throw up. So it literally caused nausea. And if you tried to inject it just as an oil, it wouldn't work. It would stick under your skin because it was so thick and make it look like bubble wrap. Yeah. So there were a lot of problems with that. It was really sticky. as well, which meant that using it as a topical agent, as a topical sort of cream, was bad. It's like rubbing honey on rubbing honey on your skin. You don't want to do that. It's all sticky. It's difficult. Like molasses. But some, like as I said, some places tried to do this. So some hospitals tried to inject it, which ended up with the bubble wrap sort of thing, meaning it wasn't spread around the body properly. They used it just as a sort of, like, I guess, topical sort of gel cream thing. But it just none of these things were working. But that's where Ball steps in. She was like, okay, well, I know what we need to do. We need to isolate the parts that work and make them injectable. Because the thing is, it wasn't water soluble, so you couldn't even dissolve it in something to inject it. So what she did was she isolated the fatty acids that made up the oil. She isolated the So what she did was she isolated the fatty acids that made up the oil by sort of basically and she separated them. And then made it injectable by making them soluble effectively. So now what you could do is inject people with the thing that actually helps leprosy. Yeah. So it was actually really, really good to alleviate the symptoms of leprosy, and it was used on thousands of people for about like 3 decades until other drugs came into play. So it was being used for quite a long time. This was called the Ball method because her name was
named after
Alice Ball.
No?
Well, she called it the Ball method, but others might not have. So a lot of people with leprosy were discharged from leprosy hospitals, which was fantastic because obviously if you had leprosy, you'd basically be quarantined and not be allowed to be around other people. But yeah, thousands of people were dying from it, and then suddenly they were all able to leave hospital and they were generally fine because you could just get an injection of this thing that made the symptoms kind of not so bad. So now these people could go back to their families, and like she didn't necessarily get to see the effect of her work, though, unfortunately. No, it's not very good because on December 31st, 1916, she died at 24. 24,
24.
Yeah.
What of?
We think...
Don't say leprosy.
No. Oh, why would it be leprosy? She invented the... that would be very tragic.
Irony.
She's like, I've come up with a treatment for leprosy, but I refuse to take it. Do not get high on your own supply. No, it was actually from inhaling chlorine gas, we think.
Oh.
Where from?
In the lab?
Oh, she was a chemist, so it was in a lab demonstration. So it was a teaching. She was teaching in a
I have
lab.
inhaled chlorine gas before.
Really?
Not on a large scale, but I used to look after a hot tub, and one summer after loads of
like a dog. Take it for walks.
Babysit to the hot tub.
and after winter, I went out and I'd left this box of chlorine tablets out all winter, and it had rained, and obviously some water had got in somehow, even though it was a pretty good lid. And I opened it up, just how I normally would, and a winter's worth of dissolved chlorinated gas rushed in, and it was the most visceral, horrible, like gagging, choking sensation. It was absolutely horrible. Do not recommend. Really, really, really bad.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's like one of the worst experiences I've had in terms of inhaling something. It's dreadful.
And this
How are you not
this is
dead?
what happened to Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, on a
Well, not
larger
the hot
scale,
tub
I
bit.
assume. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was like retching. It was dreadful.
Oh no, it's chlorine.
Yeah.
Chlorine gas is horrible. I mean, you can when a pool's too full of chlorine and it burns and it's just a little bit too full.
Yeah.
Like imagine that, but a gas and in your body. Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, horrible.
But on top of that, the dean or the president of the college, no, he's not the dean. His name is Dr. Arthur Dean. He was the president of the college.
The dean,
Head of course.
Dean.
Dean. Doorbell's ringing. But yeah, no. He continued the research, but he didn't give her credit for the discovery. But he also claimed the discovery for himself, and he called it the Dean method.
Oh,
This
no.
is like the baddie in a film or something.
Yeah, it's good. They did actually make a film of it.
Did they?
in which he was the baddie.
Well, I mean, yes.
Wow.
But yeah.
I mean, leprosy was the real baddie. Let's be honest. Actually, no. We clear leprosy up about halfway through.
Yeah. No, leprosy is like leprosy is like the
herring.
secondary villain. You know?
And Dean is the final boss.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, he's definitely the worst guy in this. He stole a black woman's, like, this amazing black woman. He just stole her her discovery and said, "This is mine."
After she died as well.
Yeah, after she died and couldn't say anything about it. But yeah, so apparently it was quite common for men to just take credit for things that women did back then. So
And now.
well, yeah, and now still, yeah. But 6 years after she died, a man named Dr. Harry T. Holman, he was the person that sort of originally put her on to looking into chalmukra oil. He published a paper, and he gave Ball the credit that she should have gotten. But even then, up until recently, she'd kind of been ignored. And it was in the year 2000, that the University of Hawaii put a plaque out in front of a chalmukra tree on campus to honor her life and her discovery.
Oh my goodness.
Although
84 years after she died.
yeah, to be honest, I'd be pretty wound up if I made this cure or this treatment for leprosy, someone stole it from me, and then decades and decades later, all I get is a plaque on a tree.
Nearly a century later, they're like,
a plaque on a bloody tree. I'd be so wound up. But yeah, they also declared February 29th Alice Ball Day, which no, February 29th.
Oh, what?
every 4 years.
Oh, come on.
That's such a low blow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in so that was in 2007. The University of Hawaii, it says posthumously awarded her the Regent's Medal of Distinction, but obviously it was posthumously. I can't say that word. I'm not going to try it again. Obviously it was, because she died many decades beforehand. I don't know why it's relevant to say that. She came back to life just for this.
Just for the ceremony.
Just for this award.
I consider it of her.
So in 2017, there's a researcher called a scholar called Paul Vermeger, who had been researching and publishing and teaching about Alice Ball for quite a long time. He started a scholarship, the Alice Augusta Ball scholarship, which was given to support students in the College of Natural Sciences pursuing a degree in chemistry, biology, or microbiology.
Lovely.
Yeah, so her legacy kind of lives on, despite the fact that a man just straight up stole her work from her. Yeah. And that's the story for today. Yeah, there's not much more. Yeah, that's it. Alice Ball. I was surprised when I found out about her. And you know what? She did a good job. It's a shame that she got that discovery stolen from her. And she was really amazing. It's a shame that she died so young. I feel like she could have contributed so much.
She accomplished a lot, but then, died so young.
Yeah, I mean,
and then got everything stolen.
Yeah, you do 2 degrees and then a master's. Then you start teaching. Then you discover a treatment for leprosy. And then you die. And then a white man takes it all from you.
And it takes nearly a century to get the recognition.
Where anyone's like, maybe we should look into this. But yeah, no, what do you guys think of the story?
Sad.
Yeah.
But also, I'm
depressing
amazed
story.
at the fact that you're telling a story from the early 1900s in which a black woman was had 2 degrees, a master's, and was a teacher at a university. That's incredible.
Right? That's incredible. It really is. It's absolutely fantastic. I didn't know that black people were allowed to do that back then. So I'm very...
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
we all learned something today.
Yeah, we have. But that is it for this week's episode. Maybe it's a little bit of a shorter one, but you know what? It's an important story, so don't complain. Thank you for watching. You can find the full references for this episode in the description. Subscribe for new episodes every Sunday, and why not leave us a nice wee comment? You can support the pod at patreon.com/SciGuys, or you can find and contact us at SciGuysPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, or you can send us an email at sciguyspod@gmail.com. I am not Corey everywhere.
Jamkin everywhere.
I'm Luke Cutforth everywhere.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.